Hello and welcome to the Three Wool Podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan, speaking, and I have Tommy Ryan here with me. How's it going, Tommy?
It's going well.
Yeah? You having a good week?
It's a busy week.
Yeah.
A lot of on-the-road traveling within Atlanta, not outside of Georgia, but it's been a busy week.
Yeah, the traffic was crazy yesterday, wasn't it, with the rain? Was yesterday or the day before?
It was yesterday. I was actually at a client location, and we had to go to the basement or the hallway in the middle of the building because the tornado warning at 2 o'clock yesterday hit us.
Let me see your socks.
Here we go.
There you go. See, I'm a little crazier than you here. But nice blue, some
That is
shades
nice.
of blue and gray.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, thank you. A little fluorescence again with me, branching out a little bit. So today, what we wanted to talk about was taking a more holistic approach to Fastrack, and so I'm not going to say high level. I'm not going to say it. So start us off with just what is Fastrack and why are people looking at this now?
Well, Fastrack is a program to get people into Office 365, and it's been around for migrating mailboxes into Office 365. And just recently at the Ignite conference, they announced people being able to use Fastrack to move SharePoint content to the cloud from their on-premise.
And this is so Microsoft's going to help with doing the migration, and of course this is going to be for free, right?
It is. There's maybe a couple caveats to
What's
that.
What's the catch?
Well,
it's a good hook. Free is always good. I mean, but
right.
Give me some of the. It's free, but.
Well, I think Microsoft definitely wants to see continual adoption in the cloud. And if people are getting their mailboxes up there, it's going to be a richer experience if they get their SharePoint content up there. Because it's a suite of applications that a lot of the services are giving you that ability to roll up, different areas of Office 365 in a more more comprehensive view. So we were talking about Teams last week. If I use Teams, I would like to have my file content available to me in my team. And if I have that on-prem, that might be a challenge and might not be feasible to use a tool like that. So I think it's to the cloud and supporting that. So they're anting up by giving people the ability to cut down on the costs. When it's free, I wouldn't say it's free because, and we can talk more about that. At the end of the day, it's moving simplified content, and so whatever you have that's quote customized or a little bit different than the standard flow of the migration process, you're going to have to handle that out of band of that Fastrack migration.
So it's moving file content over primarily? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, and when they go through what's included, they talk about what's included at a site level, a list level, and an item level.
Okay.
So when they talk about sites, they say we'll move over the title, the logo, the theme, if it's an out-of-the-box theme, the standard navigation, your content types, site columns, pages, a limited number of web parts, permissions and sharing. So some of the information that's very basic, SharePoint out of the box, that's coming over with sites, and then lists, it's documents and items and views and content types and manage metadata. And then down at the item level, things like versions, up to 5 versions, and the permissions down to the item level. So really good basic, if you set up SharePoint and you did a basic team site and you ended up adding a couple, items in a calendar and created some document structure, and you really didn't go further than that, then you're going to be able to move a lot of that content over for free.
That's great. And there's probably caps on the amount of content that Microsoft's going to move over?
Yeah, they cap it at 10 terabytes total, and you get a half a gig per user. And so that, if you're in the tens of thousands of users, you're starting to get in to the terabytes of data.
Nice. Where do we fit into this? Sort of what do you see as the need occurring because of this? And I look at this and say, okay, this will get you part of the way there, and could introduce some more pains involved with having your data and having things in two different places. But what are you seeing? What's the need that's coming about because of this program?
Well, I think it's that that challenge that you face when you go into a migration and you start migrating and you get some of the content over into the newer version of SharePoint, but you don't quite get to the finish line, and you have stuff left behind in your existing farm, and that creates a disjointed experience for the user. And it's even worse, I think, when you're talking about Office 365, where you don't want to have just a couple of your sites over there, and then people having to go to totally different locations and have a totally different user experience as they get content from on-prem and in the cloud. There's going to be situations where people will leave stuff behind on purpose. It might be full trust code, and they don't want to put the effort in porting that into a cloud-based model for the app that they've built. So some of those things will purposely be left behind, but you want to get as much of that content over. And also, I think at the end of the day, the remediation that will need to take place is not, quote, covered as part of this program. The remediation is up to the end user. So there is an assessment that will give you a sense of what that will be. But you've got to have a plan to address that. So when that content gets over, you're addressing things like running workflows. You're addressing things like, did I use custom lists, forms? Did I have InfoPath forms? It's great if you move all the data over there, but if your user interface was an InfoPath form, you're going to be, in a bad place. You're going to have to think about, well, what do I do now that those InfoPath forms didn't come over? Do I need some help with someone getting them over? Or, do I need to go and create some lightweight UI on top of those lists in SharePoint?
And remediation is going and sort of troubleshooting when there is issues, or is it checking to see that all the content moved over? It's a combination of those two.
From my understanding, it's things that have kind of failed in the process of coming over. So there's going to be logs, and at the end of the day, the customer's going to have to go through and figure out how do I handle something that didn't migrate over 100%.
Okay, great. What else would you have to share with somebody who's trying to sort of fill out what needs to occur when you're using Fastrack?
Well, I think we've talked about migration in the past, and one of the things that's a key thing to think about and plan for and implement is a communication plan. So all the communications that occur when you're moving someone's cheese. So I think that's something that Microsoft will give you some guidance on that, but it really is going to be up to the customer to make sure that there's a solid communication plan and just coordination around who gets involved when, so you can have a successful migration. So what are site owners doing? What are their responsibilities pre and post migration? How do they help with the remediation? Making sure that people know when this is occurring and have a sense of what is their backup plan during that time of migration. How do they keep continuity of service of the sites that they use in SharePoint, understanding which sites are mission critical. So you have maybe some white glove type service around those sites, so you're not interrupting, what's making money for your company.
And this Fastrack for SharePoint is a limited time offer from Microsoft as well, correct?
It is. It's pretty fast timeline. Maybe that's why I call it Fastrack. Get on the track quickly. It's going fast.
The train's leaving.
It's actually ending March, the end of March. So
Okay.
you have to get started by then. So for folks that are thinking about taking advantage of this, it's something that you want to start getting in motion today.
And I guess we work alongside with the Microsoft teams because they would contact Microsoft, and then we would, basically be another third party that's involved with this, just to make sure that the overall effort is a success.
Right. Yeah, we get the account team involved and
Yep.
and make sure they can go down the process to kind of qualifying and get on the list to be fast tracked.
I imagine this is for more complex environments, and for larger organizations are probably the people who would want to have this type of service.
I think it's a variety. I mean,
Okay.
I think you might find people, if they have a very simple environment, Fast Track's going to have a higher, kind of coverage of that migration. And the ones that have more complicated environments, I think, yes, it's important to probably put more effort in the planning around it for the more complex environments, because of the nature of larger organizations that depend on certain functions within SharePoint that you're not interrupting their services. And if it's a complicated environment, then that migration timeline might be extended with remediation and all the things you need to do to be successful with it. So I think both can take advantage of it. It's just a matter of how much help you need along the way. The more complex it is, the more planning and assessment and implementation services you need to augment that fast track effort.
And this is one of the things I like about helping folks out with migrations is you can, it's typically a one-time thing, and why go spend all the time trying to learn about migrations when you're just doing it once? It's good for you to engage an outside organization to help you with it, because they've seen other environments, they've done it before, and why, spend so much time learning lessons about how to migrate when you're just going to do it once.
Right. Yeah, and this is, I wish the program was around longer, because we're ramping up on this, and we have a few customers that are down the path with this fast track program. So we're kind of having this podcast now to let people know that it's out there, and kind of that awareness, and we're getting the experience around how they get the most out of a fast track offering.
Well, I'm sure if it's successful, I cannot say successful this morning. If it's a successful program, Microsoft may look at extending it.
Sure,
that can
sure.
always happen as
Right,
well.
right.
So we'll
There's
see.
nothing like a sense of urgency, though. So
Yeah,
that's probably a good plan to say it's going away soon, so jump on board.
It's a good tactic. Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you, Tommy, for taking the time to do this. I know you're
Sure,
really
Danny.
busy, and I appreciate you sharing some of the things that you've learned recently. If you are one of those customers who's engaging Microsoft for Fast Track, and you want someone else to help you more with a comprehensive plan and really reduce a lot of the risk involved with these projects, please reach out to us. Come to 3will.com. There's a click on Contact Us, and we'd love to talk with you more about helping out with this particular type of project. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.